Hey guys, in this video I'm back with another book, this time 101 Top Tips for Fantasy Painters. So let's take a quick look at the cover, you can see that there. Quick look at the back, and then we'll get straight into it. So this book is by an artist called Kevin Crossley. I'm going to turn this straight to the contents so you can pause there if you are interested in that. Now, I don't know Kevin Crossley's work very well, but from reading online he used to be involved with video games and has now turned to illustration. I think I read that he did some work with Total Warhammer, and also I think he writes quite a lot for Imagine FX and a few other illustration magazines like that. So a few of you might already be familiar with this. So this is a book that has actually been out for quite a long time now. It's not a new book. This copy is secondhand, by the way. I just got this on eBay. I think it only cost about £2. But I saw some of the designs. I'd looked on Amazon and I thought they just looked really cool. So yeah, I figured I would get this, especially when it's such a cheap price. And it seems like a good condition one as well. It was listed as like new. Sorry, I've just adjusted my lighting a little bit. Hopefully that will help. It's always difficult when the pages are a little bit glossy. So as I was saying, this book isn't new. I think it's been out for, in fact, you know what? I can't remember how long. So I'm not going to guess, but it's been out quite a long time, hence why it was cheap to buy secondhand now. And I came across this randomly on Amazon actually, and I always like to look on the Amazon previews first to see what's involved in the book. And it looked like it had quite a lot in it, some of which isn't always covered in books. It's not so much a step-by-step book. You guys might already know I'm not too fond of standard step-by-steps, but more of a sort of teaches you how to use your own initiative. But I'm interrupting myself here just to say this is the kind of thing I thought was worthwhile buying. So, you know, looking at anatomy, learning anatomy, but also how to use it for monsters and fantasy creatures. So how to manipulate it, I guess, would be a better way of putting it. So I haven't bought this to actually learn how to draw human anatomy. I know there's a bit there on facial structure and things like that. I have plenty of books on that, and that's not why I bought this. But it looked to have quite a few different techniques in it. It's always interesting to see, you know, how other artists work, what processes they use, because there are just so many different ways when it comes to illustration, especially with digital, to get to the end result. So I always like to read other people's process, especially when they've got nice illustrations and especially when it's fantasy art. I am skipping through this quite quickly, but the point I was making is that I saw some things in this book that I haven't seen in others, and it made me want to buy it. More about using your own initiative to, well, to have fun. And I don't actually have many creature design books, and it's something I always want to do, but for some reason it's not something I ever actually end up doing. But you can tell just from the illustrations, a lot of them are actually his illustrations. He mentions there are a few other artists, but you can tell from the illustration that he is, well, good at illustrating. He is good at art, so that's always a plus, because I have bought some books in the past and then found out the person who's written them is actually maybe not quite as skillful as I would have hoped when reading a book from them. But yeah, this does look like it covers a bit of everything. It's got creature design, it's got a bit about sketching, it's got landscapes. It's even got things a little bit more out of the normal, black and white. I'm not reading this properly, obviously, as I'm doing this, but I'm guessing this will focus on maybe values or maybe framing, how to set up an image. Framing, is that the right word? My mind's gone blank of what you'd call it. I've got another book called Framed Ink, which probably is a similar sort of thing. Composition, that's probably what I was looking for. And here, yeah, grayscale tone painting, so that's probably concentrating more on values. Either that, or it might actually go into, well, developing a painting here, it might go into using colour on top of grey layers, just another way to colour your pieces. And I have read in this book that although it does contain digital art, he has tried his best to make it almost 50-50 digital art and traditional art. So I think there's going to be something in this for every artist, regardless of what medium you use. Whilst I was flicking through the previews of this, one thing I actually saw that took my attention the most was a page that said about the importance of drawing every day. Now, I know a lot of us already know that, and it might seem obvious, but something about it to me I thought was quite, I don't know, maybe inspiring. I like to be reminded of things like that. It's simple, but it really does work. And I think rereading it in books and things not only is important, but it's fun to do, especially when it's this kind of illustration. Fantasy art, I think, is a lot more fun to play around with personally. So yeah, there's quite a few different mediums, including watercolour. So you can see here we're on to some traditional techniques. We've got watercolour, coloured pencil, coloured inks, acrylics, oils, masking film. So this book is probably going to be pretty good regardless of whether you are not very far in your art career. Maybe you are just looking into getting started drawing, you want some tips and generally just where to start. For me, I like to think I'm a bit further along than that, but I still think that this probably has some value to it. Aside from that, it just generally looks quite inspiring, and like you will pick up some tips from it regardless, and maybe even things you already know. It's probably good to reread them every now and again. And if you can get it for £2 on eBay that's as good as new, then you're not risking too much buying it. I'm obviously only flicking through this on camera, but I'm actually really looking forward to reading this. Some books that teach you things can be a little bit boring, but this one actually looks to me personally something that I would find really interesting, which means I'll probably learn from it better as well. So we're coming to the end of the book now. I am skipping a few pages at a time, and we're on to the final details and things like that. It looks like there's roughly about 175 pages, let's say. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be a really good book. I cannot wait to read through this properly. One other thing to note quickly, when I was looking, there was 2 different covers for this book. This one, which I preferred, and a slightly different version. It was the same illustration, but it didn't have all this photo texture on it, and the monster's head was different. I'm not entirely sure what the difference is between the two. They have the same date on them and everything, but I think it's just a different publication company. Don't quote me on that though. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful if you are looking into buying this book. Let me know in the comments below what books you guys are reading at the moment and what books you want to see on camera. And as always, make sure you subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching, everyone.